Charles, it's still very Christmassy here in New York, and we're going to be talking today about how to bury a billionaire. So I thought it would be good for us to start. Wait, this is a unique location for a start for us. We're in the Billionaire Mall here. Why don't you tell everybody what's going on?
Yeah, this is One Columbus Circle. It is, at this point, a relatively old building filled with very high-end shops. In fact, I was saying that it reminded me a fair bit of the malls I saw, the high-end malls I saw in Bangkok. I don't know of another mall complex like
in New York, you mean?
Other than Hudson Yards, maybe, and maybe, as you pointed out.
Not as big.
Yeah, but this is really nice, and one thing that's different about it is, in comparison to the Bangkok malls I saw, is they have, I hate this word, but I'll use it, a plethora of restaurants going from the low end to the high end, as well as all these high-end shops. So it's really, in the case of the Bangkok malls, the high-end ones, these are things that people travel to with their families and make a day of it, particularly around Christmas to do Christmas shopping.
Maybe more of a plurality than a plethora?
Exactly. Exactly, those evil P words. We're going to get to another P word here in a second.
Oh, this is really something. For people who haven't been in here, they have these sculptures. So Bill Gates apparently has an apartment in this building. That's not why we're here.
Right.
But these sculptures are interesting. People like to take pictures in front of them. It's a little bit funny.
And one is a man and one is a woman, but well, I'm not a biologist.
Exactly.
And there's some
unequal. You need about 80 others in here any day now.
And there's some unequal treatment here of the female and male sculpture. But let's not be like them. But do you notice anything odd about this sculpture,
well, it's
Jason?
It's a bit worn out, perhaps, from
all
wanking.
The boinking. Yeah.
Yeah. But we've got this one here, we've got that one there. There's lots of shops inside this place. And
just actually, I'll give a plug here.
Oh, yeah.
This is in the very small world department. I looked at this, I got here early, and I said to myself, I know somebody named Kosan. It's not a very common name, Kosan. No. And so I walked up to that nice lady and I said, is this thing at all connected to my friend from Horace Mann, class of 1974, Kosan? Turns out it's his store.
I tell you, anybody who's anybody went to Horace Mann.
Well, in New York City, there's a very strong and deep alumni society here in the city.
Are you in it?
Well, because I graduated. Right?
But I mean, do you go
to?
No. Yeah. Not your style.
Come on. I got out of high school a large number of years ago. I still behave like I'm in high school, but you know.
That's one of the best things about you. But Charles, that is now the tallest building in New York City.
What is?
This thing.
Oh, that really tall, skinny thing?
Yeah, and it's also, I think, for its height, or maybe it's the one beyond it there.
I think it could be the one beyond, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. But that's the skinniest building for its height, using some kind of new construction technology that was not previously possible. But none of this is what we're really going to talk about today. We're going to be talking about how to bury
a billionaire.
Yeah, and I really am not familiar with this movie. You know, it's interesting that I learned about it in creating this graphic, Charles.
I thought the art department did that.
Yes. But the thing that's interesting about it is this movie, it was shot in Cinerama, and the poster actually advertised that and said, oh, you can see it without glasses. Because at that time, you know, there was a big controversy over 3D and the cost and blah, blah, blah in the 50s. And Cinerama and some of these widescreen formats basically knocked out 3D. But when I was looking at the ad for this movie and it said, oh, you could see it without glasses, I was thinking, that's false advertising, because if I went to see it without glasses, it's going to be out of focus. Dumb thing to say.
That's a good point, Jason.
But
another good catch.
We want to focus on exactly what is going on in terms of Elon Musk, Donald Trump,
and Skank Man
by
Live.
Contrast, SBF, right. So what do you think about all that?
Well, it's a very interesting contrast, and before we even get into the contrast, I think the message that is being sent here in a coordinated fashion is that nobody is too big to escape being targeted by the deep state.
Exactly.
Elon Musk was, until recently, the richest man in the world. So, you know, if he can be quickly brought to heel, and you look again, I'm not making an issue of investing in Tesla, but if you look at the trajectory of Tesla,
not good.
This year and in a period, in recent weeks, and the period as he was buying Twitter and then after he bought Twitter and all that, it's a stunning erosion in the value of a company. Now, mind you, Tesla is not a dividend-paying stock, so and sometimes that's a good thing if the returns of the company are very high, the financial returns. You want them to keep the capital invested in the company and reinvest. But I think Tesla was remarkably overvalued and remains, in my opinion. I'm not giving investment advice. I just think in this climate, with the uncertainty around China and the relationship between the U.S. and China, and the relationships involving China that are central to Tesla, and other turmoil.
You mean beyond the factory, the raw materials for batteries and
everything,
stuff?
Just it is not if we go at 2025 back to economic war with China, with a lot of people, you want to go that way or you want to go?
Whichever way you want to go. I'm thinking about how we could make a battery out of garbage. That's a winner, Charles. You could sell that.
Yeah, I want the garbage franchise here in New York.
Exactly.
Yeah, just
Eric Adams would become the richest man in the world.
Just a brief digression on him. Big Brother is protecting us.
I know.
I mean, you have Big Brother and you got Stupid Brother.
He's Big Stupid Brother.
Stupid Brother is our mayor. But so back on
Tesla
and
China.
Tesla and Twitter and all that. I think you are the one who turned me on to this idea of a limited hangout, and I think the whole exercise now to focus on the degree to which social media alone influenced opinion and may have influenced elections is missing a far greater point, which is that this is a tactic. Just when we first got together, I insisted the first show be on the business model for charity firm. This is the same thing. This is the business model for shaping public opinion and controlling society. And I think this is far more devious and far more dangerous than we presently understand.
I agree.
Because unlike really even pre-2001, there are very few pipes through which information flows. There are very few pipes through which credit is made available. There are very few pipes.
A series of tubes.
Exactly, and it's so easy now for this unaccountable secret government or whoever is controlling the puppets in government, for them just to put you on a list and say you can't monetize your show, you can't do this, you can't.
It's happened.
Right, and I think those in America, I can't address the rest of the world, but those inside America who don't understand the majesty of the Constitution, and specifically the amendments, early amendments to the Constitution protecting speech,
Bill of Rights,
the first 10 amendments. Those people who don't get that should shut the F up.
Exactly.
Because they don't understand. They don't know enough about history and the dangers of autocracy to express. I mean, they're free to talk, but you should let them speak, and then you should put up an hour-long video ridiculing them.
Tape on their mouth.
No,
They're free
let
to
them
talk, but no one's going to listen.
Talk away, but then we'll do 1,000 videos about how stupid this person is, and we'll see who gets more attention.
Exactly.
So back on what I was noticing is that once the narrative was decided to take Musk down, it very quickly was sold across multiple different political leaning channels on television last night that I was scrolling through. The basic narrative was, hey, Tesla has issues, Musk should focus on that, and actually he's not a very good manager, he's just an investor. And then Twitter had, the richest guy in the world, right?
Well, but also he's an engineer, he's invented tons of stuff.
Right, and then Twitter was a disaster of an investment, and he should never have made it, and it's stupid that he did it, and it's a distraction. These are this, on CNBC, on Fox, on MSNBC, on all the different channels I was looking at, NBC, ABC, etc. That's the narrative, that he's an idiot, and they're saying that because they do not want him to have the final say on who gets bounced off Twitter. Because Twitter is a very powerful, more than a sports car, it's a battalion of, big-ass Hummer cars loaded with machine guns and howitzers and stuff like that, and nothing is going to look at this. Look at
that's what I was just looking at. But also, before we move off of what you're talking about, I think the key is, Charles, people need to understand that Twitter now is at a point where they've been working on it for, everything's been set up for so much time. So it's like not a matter of just coming along. Wow, that's really, somebody can't just come along and recreate that. Even if you have Mastodon, it's going to take a long time. And also now that the cat is out of the bag and that people know what Twitter was actually up to, there are so many FBI, CIA employees. We gotta wait for this thing to shut up. That's so loud.
That's a little street reality.
There is an account on Twitter called Truth Ninja that has been putting out
What the hell?
tweet after tweet of the different employees at Twitter and where they used to work at the FBI, the CIA. It's outrageous. And when I see Fox, which is the only one that's talking about this, they had Harmeet Dillon, Pam Bondi. She was saying, oh, this is outrageous. Well, okay, that's fine, but how about the fact that it's illegal?
Well, not only that, and how about the fact that there's a Clinton operative stuck in at a very high level at Fox and has been since 2008.
Who's that?
The name will come to me in a second. Jim Kennedy. He's a very...
We're getting bombarded with sound.
You want to go left, young man?
It'll stop.
Eventually. He's the only person working for the post office today.
Well, but anyway, so Elon Musk.
So the message is, we can take, if we want to take Musk out, watch us how quickly we do it. And they don't want Musk. I think they're attacking full bore and hoping that Musk will just say, I've had enough. I want to focus on Mars. And
he's not going to do that, I don't think.
Well, I don't think so either. But so that's Musk. With Trump, there's this woman, I believe, I'm not an expert on this, but named Olivia Nuzzi. Not a great name for a woman, Olivia Nuzzi.
Yeah.
Who I think has in the past been involved in certain scandals. I don't remember which ones they are, but she's controversial, let's say that. And Trump foolishly agreed to give an interview to her, and she then wrote this really negative piece, which he is ripshit about, and blasting her on Truth Social, where she alleges that she's trying to paint him like Richard Nixon before the fall in the White House, wandering around Mar-a-Lago, yelling at people, playing golf, and nobody cares about him, and nobody will help him, and he's lost and diminished. And Trump is having none of that, but I think making a mistake engaging with this minor.
He's making a lot of mistakes.
Yeah. So, but they certainly have. Maybe. We were fly-specking about this the other day, or maybe this morning, about exactly what is Trump's role. What has been his role all along? Are we so sure that he actually is the leader of an independent movement, or was he put up on a pedestal in a divide and conquer move where you control both flanks of the debate, and you have the ability to take, forgive this analogy, Bernie Sanders' pants down at any point in time, or Donald Trump's pants down at any point in time, but you let the two go at it, and so that nobody notices how much money the swamp is stealing around the world, not just in the United States.
Well, and a lot of people have criticized Trump for a long time, saying that we're dopes for supporting him and that he's part of this. And it's one thing to say that; it's another thing to develop evidence. And you can't just spin a bottle and decide who's a criminal and look at like bad evidence and come to a conclusion. There is evidence that is quite strange. Trump had a long relationship with not just Epstein and Maxwell, but Robert Maxwell. There's that picture of him in the wheelhouse of the Lady Ghislaine with Robert Maxwell.
Well, he was, a mega celebrity in a mega celebrity town.
Yeah,
so
but
he
then
had a lot
buying
of
Adnan Khashoggi's yacht, and then Al Walid buying the yacht, and this whole thing with Trump shuttle going bankrupt and somebody got 17 727s for 10 cents on the dollar, and I start looking at the amount of interest that the CIA has historically had in 727s and the unique capabilities that that aircraft has even today.
Right.
I don't know. It's very suspicious. And the other thing, Charles, is they really love to have one guy come in and do a little something, like, oh, Trump was there for COVID, and so he did the vaccine, but then he leaves. And so if you hate the vaccine, it's like, well, you know, Trump kind of did it. If you like the vaccine, Biden kind of did it.
Right.
But that's sort of similar to how this whole Louis Freeh creating the Office of General Counsel at the FBI, then leaving, then Mueller kind of making it operational.
Wow.
They like to divide it up among a couple of people. That guy in the Kia is going very fast in reverse.
This Joe Biden's probably driving it.
But this is CBS, Joe.
Yeah,
Speaking of CIA.
This is, I think, where I've done a number of interviews in this complex. I think this is one of their main places. They may have another studio somewhere else, but this is old school. I mean, this is one of the first, right? The oldest broad TV.
It's not impressive.
Not at all. None of the NBC studios aren't impressive either, nor the ABC.
Well, I mean, I'm comparing it to things like this in Los Angeles, which absolutely blow it away. And that's pretty typical, comparing production facilities in New York to Los Angeles. But this, I mean, that really looks like a piece of shit. That looks like a government building, not a...
Yeah, it looks like after they bult that Salvation Army complex on 14th Street, they came here and said, why don't you do another one here? Just don't put the Salvation Army words on it. But... So this deep state is letting us know that a president is not safe, former president is not safe, and then what they're doing in contrast with SBF.
It's getting windy.
Yeah, you want to go down? Let's go back up and go down.
Freezing.
Yeah. So in contrast with SBF, what they're letting you know is you're never going to know how crooked this shit was.
First class flight.
Yeah, but the point is that the saga, I'm convinced, as a working theory, right, that we're allowed to theorize in this country and on this broadcast, as a working theory, the parents are, if they're not communists, they're kind of fellow travelers on a lifelong mission to replace the current unjust system with one that they will design and lead.
Right.
And by molding the impressionable minds of all their law students, and then further by getting involved at national level and political in the Democrat Party, and then in campaigns, and then in the dirty business of raising money and shifting it towards political consultants, really, not the candidates, towards the political consultants. And they've been doing this.
Restructuring the judiciary is another thing that they're very focused on.
And the electoral process. So the point is that they've been at this a while.
Yes.
And you know, you can't really, even with plastic surgery, there's not that much you can do with a challenging visage in terms of the kid. He looks a bit weird to me, but there's no way listening to him and then looking through the body of evidence, which so far is in the public domain, about the shifty crap they were doing all over the world. These many companies. You want to go maybe another avenue over?
Whatever you want to do.
I'm just saying because of the trucks.
Yeah.
We do it.
We'll do this a little while. We haven't really been on this avenue. We'll see what's going on around here.
So I think the idea that you're going to let Sam and his parents hang out in in their home together and get their story straight.
It's crazy.
Is preposterous. And now they're all up in arms. Apparently, some subsidiary of FTX was hacked for $372 million, and they're all pissed about that. Why aren't you more pissed about the billions that Sam appears to have scanned, and how much of that money went to the Biden campaign, and how centrally involved is this Mark Elias? I wonder. And
he's a loudmouth on Twitter.
He is. He's a loudmouth in life. He's a professional loudmouth. But and bounced out of his firm, with his whole team of government lawfare agents, centrally involved, for example, in the Kerry Lake, defending Kerry Lake's efforts to get a look through what happened in the Arizona election recently. He's just a bad apple. And so I have zero confidence that Washington, D.C., the swamp, will investigate itself over this. We know that establishment Republicans were getting money from SBF. And what we don't know is how closely coordinated were the efforts of scam, the money efforts of scam, with the efforts of Twitter, and the efforts of social media, and the efforts of the Washington Post, and the efforts of the New York Times, and CBS, and ABC, and NBC, and the list goes on. So
I think what happened to Twitter, Charles, it becomes an asset. It's like when 21st Century 3D got a Los Angeles office. Yeah, that was disgusting.
Nice.
The New York office was something that was there, and now we have something else. And if two of them working together could allow me to do something that I couldn't do before, oh, that's a new capability. So this Twitter tool is obviously something that's benefiting all of it.
Right. But what it did for me is it allowed me to spread my point of view very quickly. I mean, before I was on Twitter, I was sending my stuff around by email.
Oh, right.
And now, I didn't have that many followers in the beginning. Not that I have that many now. But
well, I mean, certainly 30,000 people listening to a message is a lot more than you could email. And don't forget, it also allowed all these FBI assholes to monitor everything that you're sending around.
Right. Well, I submit they're doing that on the email, maybe snail mail, and our phone calls, and everything. That's all. And the notion that you're safer because you have a surveillance state
is crazy.
Is absurd. And I think the good case, the counterpoint to that is the recent reversal, and this is related though it won't seem, the recent reversal of the Chinese Communist Party on COVID.
Right.
I mean, they were saying adamantly, worldwide critics were saying, you can't keep this lockdown going. This is crazy. You're damaging our country. No. That's our vision. Zero tolerance for COVID. Whoops. Then they just suddenly change and say,
Never
fuck
mind.
it. Never mind.
Yeah.
And shortly, they're going to they're already sending people out of China who have COVID.
Charles, I think this is another one of these crazy telecom buildings with no windows. Maybe Jim Baker works here.
8/11/10th, somebody can tell us. Some serious. Actually, the Chinese embassy is around here.
Oh yeah, maybe they have a police station.
A police state inside this surveillance state. But
all those Chinese police stations, they're finding more of them around.
Well, so whenever you encounter people of, I would argue, moderate intelligence, but not high intelligence, who are afflicted with the condition that they have to lecture you about everything, and that there's only one solution in life, and it's their solution, and don't ask them too much about how they're going to get paid for implementing their solution. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with the people who laud the Chinese surveillance state, that government knows. Oh yeah, government knows
What
best.
people are those?
Well, if you didn't have.
Yeah, look, AT&T.
If you didn't have in these regions, remember China was quite poor in 1989. If you have a mass collection.
Oh, right, they've saved people from poverty.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and disorder, and so it's better to have, when you're not rich to begin with, better to have, strong people.
That guy's coming fast.
Yeah. The strongman system come in and dictate who's going to win and who's going to lose and how it's going to work, and just don't look at the Uyghur prison camps too carefully.
Yeah.
Don't
pay no attention.
Don't revisit this Tiananmen Square shit. Just don't look at that. But many of them, I remember, I had this one guy who will remain nameless, who after I went after GE again, and as you remember, in 2018, he said, let's keep going. He said, Charles, I know you. And I know what you're going to do next. You're going to go on a tear about China. And let me tell you about why you shouldn't do that. The Chinese, they don't think in terms of 5 years or 10 years. They're thinking in terms of centuries, and they've got this thought through, and they're more of them than us, and they're more smart than us.
That might be right, though, centuries.
Maybe, but, this to go and say, people get welded into their apartments.
Yeah, that's not
right.
good.
From that, to say, oh, actually, no, we were wrong. Not even to say you're wrong.
Yeah,
to say,
that's
never mind. COVID.
Yeah,
just tells you that they are not infallible, and frankly, no human is.
I think the closer one is the taller one, or maybe that's an optical illusion.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, China seems not good. I don't know. This is another thing that Lee and I disagree on. He thinks that China is victims. I mean, this is the complicated thing about Lee, is that he's sort of right. I mean, the opium wars, England really did a number on China, so maybe they're still pissed.
And America too, and maybe there's, turnabout's fair play.
That's what I mean.
You send us opium, we'll send you fentanyl.
Right, from their standpoint, that's what's happening.
And it really was brutal what was done to the Chinese. I mean, it was outrageous.
But, it's Joe Biden and all these other people who are allowing China to keep the border open and, have this flood. I don't understand how people who are saying, oh, the border is fine, how are they also reconciling the fact that, Mayor Adams and other idiots like him are saying, oh, but we have 1,000 people a week coming. Where are they coming from if the border's not open?
Well, I think, I remember speaking frankly with Brett Baer as one example about the Clinton Foundation, about what was going on. And he's a cautious guy. I mean, he's, what's your evidence? What's your second source? What's this? What's that? There are people like that, not many of them left. And then there are people who are in this new world where the truth doesn't matter. We'll tell you what the truth is.
Right.
We don't need evidence. We don't need evidence.
No, they hate evidence.
We're just we're on a mission here. We're going to demonize Musk, demonize Trump, demonize you, and that's pretty sad. But it is. I think there should be a huge reconsideration of this globalism now, because when everybody was rushing into India and China, the idea then was that there were so many people in those big countries who would work for nothing,
right,
to get an upgrade over the dirt sandwich diet.
Dirt sandwich with ketchup.
Yeah, dirt sandwich diet. And that's over. I mean, it's over for two main reasons. One, wages have risen a lot in those countries.
Have they?
But yes, but more to the point, machines are doing a lot of things today that we couldn't do in 1989. Right. And so when you reconfigure, as you did with Crowdsource, when you think, how would you like to organize a business availing itself of the latest in technology and not doing things business as usual, you come to the conclusion you don't need as many people, and if you can keep your revenues high, your margins will improve. And you can get back to the easier business of operating from one location in this great country, or, God forbid, in the UK or Germany or another country like that.
Well, but it raises an interesting question, because so Elon Musk was on this Twitter Spaces call. They had this, person who's being called a celebrity programmer.
Right.
I never heard of him before this whole Twitter deal, but George Hotz was on that call saying that he wants to, what's the word? Not reconfigure. There's
reimagine?
There's a programming word for, I forget what it is, but it's for basically going through and straightening out your stuff, because this thing has been put together over time in such a way that it's a patchwork of tape and cords and whatever. And so there's a process where you go through and kind of straighten everything out, but you don't want to do that while you're adding new features, because it's sort of a waste of time. You sort of want to add everything in there and have somebody go in and straighten it all out. So they're having something of a battle over that. And Elon Musk started talking about how there's about 1.5 billion of debt service per year.
That's a lot.
I know. This used to be a gas station, Charles.
Oh yeah, I remember that. In fact, is that the gas station, some of the...
Well, probably they have to do something to the thing for environmental.
A big gas station.
Yeah, I think you have to do something to it for a while before you can build on there once there's gas. But he's saying there's 1.5 billion a year of debt service because there was 12 billion of debt on the thing, and that it's making about 3 billion a year and burning 6 billion per year. So that's why he was firing so many people. But the question I'm getting to is, when you can fire 80% of the people and have the thing, I mean, I don't notice any difference in terms of how it operates. Maybe it's even better. But is it possible that just all the billions that was going into Twitter was just paying people who are working for the FBI and the CIA, and they're making money from that?
I don't know about that. I don't know how Twitter generated its revenue. The starting place.
That's what I mean.
But I will say, as somebody who has advised on a bunch of acquisitions done done a bunch of acquisitions. This was a stupid acquisition. This is really stupid.
From a business standpoint, yes,
business standpoint.
But if it's from a save society standpoint, maybe it's like MasterCard. It's priceless.
Yeah, okay, but that's the other side of the. I'm doing this in the interest to protect national security card, right? To say, I'm doing this to say. Oh, thank you.
I thought you know us. Consider shutting up. Here's the question, though.
No, well, just if I could just explain the point. So generally, when you do a leveraged acquisition, something financed with debt, you should be doing a lot more diligence.
Seems risky as hell.
It is very risky, particularly in a technology field where today's, like in Google, you were talking about this AI program that might replace. What might replace?
Oh, I meant to
Twitter.
bring that picture.
What might replace Twitter? Or
right.
So you don't want. That's why most high-tech companies don't have debt. In fact, they have mountains of cash, and so it's a very risky move to do an acquisition for starters. It's even riskier to do one in technology because technology is really changing very quickly and always will. And then when you do a tech acquisition with debt, and then it's risky, and also getting outside equity investors is risky because you have to spin a story to those outside investors in writing and get that story spun through the SEC and other regulators.
So how could he have done it if it's so stupid?
Maybe there's an excellent reason that only he knows.
Right.
But from the outside, if I were just to forget his name and divide this by 100.
It's the most insane thing ever.
And then to say that I had to fire 80% of the staff. Well, what were you acquiring?
Well, this is what this guy was talking about who was criticizing the phone call. He was saying, like, look, you deal with any of these big companies and it's all, totally custom code, and when you fire 80% and just bring in programmers, people are like, we don't know what the hell this is. It's going to take months to figure out.
Right.
And given this whole 1.5 billion in debt, this guy was calculating that Twitter has like 4 months until it explodes.
Right. Well, we'll see. And it's really, I know, having done it. I did a few ill-advised tech acquisitions where I had to then go out and raise more money. And you don't want to be in that place. That's not, being the first person to have a great moon city. I mean, a Mars city. It's you're in the penalty box. It's serious penalty
There's
box.
other questions that go beyond the financial fundamentals of what he's doing. Like, we still don't have an answer to this whole, I want to buy it. No, you can't have it. All right, I won't take it. No, now you have to buy it.
Right, I don't get that at all.
That doesn't make sense. So there's obviously something going on here that we're not privy to, that once we learn it, we'll say, oh.
Yeah.
But how do we figure out what that is?
We let him mess around. I mean, I think Twitter's year end is December 31st, I believe.
Oh, we saw that on Edgar one time.
I think it is. And so he's going to have to put together financial statements for this short, it's called a stub period. And he may or may not make those public. But he has a short period here to right the ship. And the real question is, wouldn't it have been smarter? I mean, a number of startups have valuations of 20 billion and 20, what they don't
just start something new.
Yeah, to look at this and say, this is going to implode. Why don't I write a personal check for 4 billion
and make a whole
or 5 billion? Start as Bloomberg did.
Yeah, but obviously there's a reason he didn't do that. But
let me just start as Bloomberg did, and now for 5 billion I own 100%, and I don't have the debt service, and I don't have to deal with firing 80% of the staff, and I have this and this and this.
But what you just said is not some incredible thought that you just came to. I mean, anybody could have thought of the idea of starting some new social media thing.
Well,
so there's obviously a reason why he did this. And the thing that's also not answered yet is, okay, he fired Jim Baker, but what about, there's dozens of other CIA people.
Well, is this how this is Target, right? Or as they say in France, Target. Does this strike you as a wonderful shopping experience?
I don't understand what we're even looking at. This is
Target stores. You're looking at the backside of a bunch of bras. Garbage here, garbage there. Why would you go into this store?
Do you want a pallet of crushed boxes? They're on sale.
Well, it's as if the CEO of Target's like, we really want to fail. I'm going to short my own stock and debt and see if I can drive the thing into the ground. I mean, and not to mention this location. I mean, look around us.
No,
this is not the most.
Well, they wanted the size, obviously.
This is not the most inviting part of New York City. There's a subway station up on 42nd and 8th.
They do have a lot of apartment buildings that they're opening over on the west side.
Probably empty.
But that's not apartments for people who would shop at Target, I don't think. That's more apartments for people who would shop at the first place we were at.
Well, it could be apartments for people who would shop at Target after they pay their rent.
Maybe.
Because they can't.
But again, I mean, there's just too much about Twitter. It was this mess at Twitter that he wanted to go after. And I would think, but why has he kept all these FBI people there? Has he... Right. Nobody's looked at this... I've been sending, obviously he's not noticing what's being sent, but I'm trying to get this Twitter coup story to gain some traction, and Crowdsource the Truth viewers have been reading it rather, on crowdsourcethetruth.medium.com. But I would have thought that somebody would send this to the Attorney General of Missouri or Jim Jordan, and that we might have heard somebody mention something about Barack Obama or Valerie Caproni or Adam Sharp or Alexander McGilvray or that girl, what was her name? Stacia.
I don't know.
There was somebody who was coming up in the most recent Twitter files who I looked up, and we saw that she was the deputy counsel to Barack Obama at the White House, and then she went to Twitter, and now she's at Google. I mean, it's quite clear that all of these social media things are controlled by the FBI, the CIA, and they're stifling our ability to use it to speak freely.
Right, and more important, they're promoting their bullshit as truth. And the way this seems to have worked is that you're not in the in crowd unless you believe that Trump is a Russian spy.
Right.
And those, the editorial departments in coordinated fashion will run across the spectrum of media, from radio to television to you name it. They'll have it so that there's so many impressions in the mind of the public that that's the truth.
Right.
That when time comes to correct it or to try to correct it, A, the damage is already done, and B, you're never going to persuade all the people you sold the lie to, because a number of them have been retelling the lie and are too proud to say, well, it was wrong and I spread the lie.
That Mark Twain quote, easier. Now, Charles, will you be staying at the Yotel Roth?
Actually, the Yotel in Istanbul, I thought about staying there. This is a really clever thing. Not to this one.
Like pods, right?
Well, in Istanbul, as I found out the hard way, if you're on the Asia side of the city, it's quite a hike from the airport, the main airport. Yeah. So they have the two Yotels that you one on the outside of security. So
in the airport,
and one on the inside of security for people who are in transit, and it's really clever. It's taxis can be pretty expensive, so the rooms they price them on a kind of not a last minute basis, but there's different prices depending on when you book. And I actually had breakfast in the Yotel connected breakfast nook. Very well thought through.
I think it's Japanese.
Yes, I think you're right. But very well thought through. And airport hotels, you really have, depending on where you're going, you've really got to know the landscape well. You got to know how tough it is to make the transition. Boy, it's a desolate looking church.
Wow. Let's go look at that. I was about to say, I really enjoyed the brief time I spent in Japan. It's very organized, and everybody's minding their own business and not bothering you.
Yeah, St. Cyril, and
it's a beautiful day. I can't believe how much warmer. It's like 40 degrees warmer today than it was just 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah.
It's sort of weird, isn't
Thank Baphomet.
thank Biden, perhaps.
That's what the Secret Service calls him, or should call him.
Oh, did you see that? What is it? Dmitry Medvedev put out his list of
He's funny, that guy.
predictions for 2023, and he said that Florida and Texas would secede, and Elon Musk will become the president of the United States of Texas, or something like that.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Medvedev, you got to admit, I mean, people may not want to admit this, but some of the people who are associated with the Russian government, central bank, president, Medvedev.
But I didn't like that he was down for destroying Libya, and he was whispering with Obama about what to do.
No. I'm making a different point. That they have a good sense of humor in English, a second language.
That is extremely difficult.
It's hard to do. It's hard for anybody in the Biden administration to have a sense of humor at all.
Exactly. It's a sign of extreme intelligence.
Right. Exactly. And that was my point there. Wow, there's another new apartment building.
Oh yeah.
Who the hell would be stupid enough to buy one of those now?
You know, I think even comedy in your regular language is a sign of intelligence, because you think about somebody like Dave Chappelle.
Oh, he's funny.
And Joe Rogan and stuff like that. And I mean, they're smart. They have really good insights, and the communication skills are...
Right. And you can, I think, win an argument with comedy, with a joke, a lot faster than you can with a 20-page paper that's not well thought through to begin with. And anyway, this for people who don't know New York City is a part of the city that is, as Larry David would say. Actually, I think he lived around here, didn't he?
Me?
Larry David.
Oh,
I think his story. He was living in a cold water tenement.
You're right.
In Hell's Kitchen.
Hell's Kitchen, exactly.
Not far away from
a cold water tenement, and then we had no hot running water in the place.
Right. And he would, for years, the story runs. This may be like Michelle Obama's, biography, totally made up.
Oh no, I think it's true.
But he would tell people, what are you working on? Well, I'm working on a show about nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be big, really big. And probably, I don't know how many different people probably said, you're an idiot. And now look at him. He is.
And they were writing Seinfeld in that apartment. Kramer was the neighbor.
Oh, is that right? I have to say, I don't know if Curb Your Enthusiasm, if those are scripts or if it's just a storyline idea and they run with it, but it is very funny stuff.
Look at that, they're renting a U-Haul to transport collected cans. My God.
That's a Kramer thing, remember? Do you remember that?
Right, they wanted to bring them to Michigan to get the 10 cents for the 5-cent cans, and then they crashed and lost all the cans.
Right, it was funny.
It's a beautiful day.
In the neighborhood, exactly. And meanwhile, we've got President Bite-Me's down in St. Croix. On vacation.
Unbelievable.
He's probably having a lot of vanilla ice cream. He's probably going to the National Girl Scout troop.
I don't understand how he can go on vacation when everything is falling apart at the seams.
Yeah.
Here's Odyssey Wine and Spirits, Charles. It reminds me that Crowdsource the Truth viewers can subscribe to Odyssey for free and see a lot of our legacy videos that have been deleted from YouTube.
Oh, that's good.
If you go to odyssey.com/@Crowdsource the Truth, or just search for Crowdsource the Truth on there. And once people are on odyssey.com, they can tap on the membership tab and become members, where they will be able to access sponsor exclusive content, including my interview with retired FBI Special Agent Robin Gritz, who said a lot of stuff that I didn't really agree with, Charles. I think the FBI has a very different view of what their purpose is than I do.
This whole lack of intelligence apparatus that we seem to have is, and for that matter, the military.
Well,
I think we really, if this were business, what I would say is, I'd say, all right, look, I wouldn't hire McKinsey, but I want
fire
a credible,
80%.
I want a credible outsider to answer a bunch of different questions. So I'm gonna ask these questions to the military, but I'll have the answers. And the first question I'm gonna ask is, give me military spending of the top 10 countries 2 years ago. So they can't say the information isn't ready. You know?
Right.
2 years ago, what was it? Okay, explain to me why the United States needs to spend
10x.
Yeah, exactly. Why are we doing this?
And lose all the
Right.
time. And give away the stuff.
And the correct way to look at it, I think, is spending per capita, or maybe spending per taxpayer. You know, leave out the children, leave out the retirees, per active worker. How much money are we spending on this project? And why should we be spending this kind of money and Japan is spending
Right.
sweet fuck all? And
Well, Trump said that.
right, and just stop with these, you know, Vindman-style testimony where all the military come in with their uniforms and their medals and all this shit, and they can't tell you that. That's classified. Fuck
He's
all
a
that.
jackass.
You know, fuck all that bullshit. You're spending $850 billion a year. That's a lot of
You
money.
better tell me something.
You know, and I'm telling you, I'm going to put you in the same deal for $200 billion a year. That's what I'm going to do
What do
here.
we got to do to get you into this tank, Charles?
Yeah, we can make
Leather
those.
seats.
That's right.
We got the sunroof.
And this
We're going to
notion-
give you the undercoat.
And this notion of in 1988, I think it was, I looked at buying, I was working for Dylan Reed's private equity fund, and we looked at buying Learjet, the whole company.
Uh-huh.
And it was, you know, they changed the tax law in 86, making it, watch yourself.
It's down from last week.
What is it now? Yeah, well, it's still expensive.
It is.
Do you want to go over?
Well, whatever you want to do. Learjet.
So we learned then that the U.S. government has this approach where they, if they seize a jet, you know, that was involved in criminal activity,
They own it.
They keep it.
Yeah.
And so that's why Pete Buttigieg, for example, as Secretary of Transportation, will be flying private. I think the Secretary of Transportation and frankly the top 1,000 people in that organization should be barred from flying anything other than commercial coach.
Take a Greyhound bus.
Exactly. You see what you're doing. Watch yourself. See what you're doing to the rest of us with your bullshit edicts, and experience the joy. Remember when he had his flight canceled or something? Buttigieg
and he
his
flipped
family,
out.
and he was freaked out about it. You know?
Strapped on rubber boobs.
I don't think he did that.
Flip a computer.
I don't think he did that. But you know, Secretary of Transportation is not going to be the first target of, you know, Al-Qaeda, as Bush used to call him, and ISIS. I mean, he's not a real target for anything.
I don't think so. Actually, what we could do, Charles, is we could do our return walk on the High Line. It's right over here.
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah. Well, actually, let's just go past this building because that's under construction.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to make this whole previously dead part of town into almost its own new city, right?
Right, but you know, you got to have. This isn't Field of Dreams. You know, if you build it, they'll come. You've got to have demand, and when you encourage crime to go
crazy,
massive, bigly, when you have, and it really is dangerous at night, frankly. I applaud the idea of going onto the High Line. Actually, I don't go out until it's light in the morning.
I'm with you.
This time of year, and I certainly don't go out at night if I can avoid it.
Yeah, I mean, people don't get it. It's, you know, there's a real lot of bad stuff going on around, and Eric Adams is just, every week he announces another initiative, but I have seen no evidence that they've done anything.
Good.
well, right. I mean, to actually
He's done a lot of bad. Yeah, I guess I haven't really been into these shops here, but I think they're
similar to that.
Yeah, similar to the other one.
It all feels like Vegas, right? Like at a certain point, after they built the Bellagio, Vegas went much more high end, like a lot of money went there. And I think now, I would have to say Vegas for restaurants is even better than New York.
There's your friend.
Russ and Daughters? What is that?
BlackRock.
Oh, that's not my friend.
I know.
But I guess they like Jewish appetizing because they... Russ and Daughters, you're going to get a whitefish salad over there.
So...
Schmear?
So Larry Fink, aptly named CEO and founder of BlackRock,
Terrible.
is meeting with Zelensky now
What?
to coordinate how to invest the money that's going to go to Ukraine.
What?
I know.
No. And then also Zelensky made some like porno star looking chick into the ambassador to, I don't know, his pants or something.
It's really, I mean, if biographies are written about this crew, they're not going to be pretty.
Or they use hagiography.
It's going to take, James Lipton in the Actors Studio with Joe Biden. That would be funny. And in this pratfall, this amusing pratfall, which was his 1988 campaign, he said this.
So I guess I've known this but haven't really registered in my mind, but this is the DoubleClick building.
What's that?
Well, DoubleClick was
DoubleClick,
the first internet advertising company, and when they first took over this building, they wanted to put a sign on the roof of it. And so what we did was, this was like, I had like a beta version of this type of tracking software that is totally standard now, but this was like, this was like maybe 1998 or something, and actually, Lee Stranahan's brother, Kenny, came to New York to work with 21st Century. We were still multimedia system design at that time, but we flew around that building in a helicopter, 35 millimeter, scanned all that stuff at Kodak Cinesite, which does not exist anymore.
Wow.
And then Kenny and the crew at 21st Century, or Multimedia System Design, put together this amazing animation of the DoubleClick sign on the roof that the French company that made that tracking software used that to advertise their software for a long time.
Was Kenny the inspiration for South Park, Kenny?
I don't think so.
No, are you sure?
I don't think Lee had anything to do with that. But we actually had a really great guest on Lee's show yesterday, who's a filmmaker that Lee knows from back in the animation days, named Ladd. I forget his last name, but he was sort of like running down all the Kanye West claims, and he was like, no, Hitler did not invent the microphone. Alexander Graham Bell invented the microphone in 1840, whatever, years before Hitler was born. And he just went through every claim and
Kanye
rubbished.
West is some kind of crazy. And it has some story about Adidas has $500 million worth
of his shoes.
I mean, how do you...
But why don't they give them to Ukraine or homeless people or something?
I don't know. What a stupid name for a sneaker anyway.
But that's his previous name. He's Kanye.
That's his previous real name?
Then Yeezy, then Yee, or Ye.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So then now he can be like Prince, the symbol formerly known as whatever, Skeezy.
Are you going to be doing that? Going to be Jason Goodman, and it's going to be...
The symbol formerly known as Jason? No.
Or
I'm going to stay
some
Jason.
other name. Maybe I should do it.
What would you become?
I don't know. Chasbo.
Yeah, I don't know.
Chasbo the Magnificent. This, I think, is that expensive watch shop on the left, I believe.
Well, there's a few here.
Yeah. International.
Right, International
IWC.
Watch Company.
And some of those watches are six figures and up.
Absolutely. No doubt. But
this is sort of interesting architecture. But this is, maybe it's done by the same firms that are putting up buildings all over Asia. The same sort of stuff you see in Asian cities now, where money's no object and you just hire, it's got to be a European designer, and they put up something that they'll tell you is revolutionary, and you'll say, why is it revolutionary? Because this mirrors the action of the people walking down the steps, mirrors the way in which a bowel movement comes. Come up with some argument.
Well, it's actually revolutionary because it's calculated to go bankrupt on the second day after it opens, and then you can come in and buy it for 10 cents on a dollar.
Before I answer the question why it's revolutionary, could you prepay my architecture fee?
Right.
I go over towards jibs?
Well,
or not? Maybe you just keep going south.
Yeah, they actually don't even have any jibs in there.
What is jibs?
A jib is a camera crane.
Oh, look, this is kind of like...
It's the same. Let's go in and take a look at it.
Yeah.
And we can compare and contrast. It's like a mall day, Charles. That
It
makes
is.
sense. It's in between
Stock up.
Christmas and everything. I was noticing there are a lot more tourists around. Like when I was coming up to meet you, I went through Rockefeller Center again, and it was too crowded. I didn't want to go through it.
They're here for the ball drop.
All right.
Yeah, this is
pretty
kinda
similar.
I mean, these are Rolex, Piaget, Cartier. You know,
Well, which will you get, Charles? It's such a
Let's
selection.
go around this way.
One of each.
take 2 of those, 6 of those.
Yeah.
Three
The
of those.
Cartier Santos Dumont is always an excellent choice, or a tank. You might be a Cartier tank guy.
I had, it's funny, when I graduated from college, and my mother wanted to give me a tank watch, and I was
Wow.
like, no. But they gave me a very, very nice Tiffany watch, which I still have. And it's one of these things that's so nice I'm afraid to wear it, so
Yeah.
I don't wear it. But
Well, especially now, somebody will chop your arm off for something like that. A friend of mine, when she got married, her whatever kind of financial guy husband bought her some kind of,
this is super high-end stuff. Van Cleef
Yeah.
Arpels is very expensive stuff.
she had this 6-carat diamond ring. And I was like, you're absolutely nuts. Somebody's going to chop your finger off to take that.
Are they still married?
No,
Not married?
divorced.
Who got the ring?
I don't even know. I don't talk to the wife anymore.
It's so sad that so many people, start out with high expectations, and then same thing happened to me. And here's this Tory Burch. For some reason she's rich and
What is
famous, a designer. It's this place. I mean, to me,
you never
this.
see
You know what this
anybody-
looks like to me? This is like old lady cruise ship garb, right?
It might be.
It's like, can you imagine, you're the salesperson saying, ma'am, I think you look very good. This is modeled after a Star Trek suit.
Yeah.
But we
this
put
is Klaus Schwab's
we put like dust
haberdasher.
on it. Dust on it. It's like special plastic dust. Well, how much
Did
is
you-
it? What?
Did you see that lady just like driving the baby carriage right?
Right on.
What are you doing, lady?
And how much is that? Oh, it's only $22,000.
Something crazy, I bet.
Crazy.
It's on sale. It's only $18,000 this week.
Exclusions apply. Semi-annual sale.
Yeah, it's not on
exclusions
sale
apply.
for you.
That's right. No sale for you.
Yeah. Nobody named Charles is getting a sale. Well, I mean, this is an unusual episode, Charles. We've never been to a
Tiffany.
mall before.
This is more shopping than I've done in the last 10 years.
I don't know if it
No,
counts
we
as
haven't-
shopping if you're just making fun of everything.
I know. I'm saying this. I don't typically go
Here's
into
your
this.
place.
I used to love Brooks Brothers as a child. As a youngster. Because we were taken there by my mother 3 to 4 times a year, and we had a relationship with the different salespeople, and they would have clothes ready for us, and didn't really have to try most of them on.
That's
and
Brooks Brothers Light.
it's not like that anymore, and
Yeah.
it used to make sense to shop at Brooks because it was more expensive, but the clothes lasted a lot longer than standard clothes.
It's all
So,
made in China now.
and we didn't buy much at Brooks until we were bigger.
I love malls like this where every single store is like a brand I've never heard of and I don't even know what they're selling.
Well, and I don't notice any restaurants yet. And look, here's a car.
Well, the
What is this?
restaurants, this is Hyundai Genesis.
Yeah, they
but
had
these
these in
restaurants are
Bangkok.
outside of this mall.
Yeah, well, this is kind of cool. Would I buy
This is
one
a
of these?
popular car.
Would I buy one of these? No.
Well, me neither. It's like a $90,000 Hyundai,
Yeah.
but it's a good car.
As this guy, I won't tell you his name. It's $90,000 race rocket.
You know something funny? I guess you might not have even seen this. I was in Texas when I left the Tesla factory. I was just driving to the next place I was going, and I happened to see this Toyota Century,
Right.
which is a V12. It's like the Toyota version of a Rolls Royce, and I was like, I've never seen one in the United States before. And then last night, a YouTuber that I watch was like, "Oh, look at this Toyota Century," and I was like, "That's got to be the same car."
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, also in unrelated news, Coach, the company, was,
heard
huh?
I've heard of that.
Yeah. No, it was sold, right?
Oh, I
And
don't know.
the family that built it up had the money and said, you know what? What we're going to do is there's no authentic goat cheese in America. So what we're going to do is we're going to buy this dairy farm in a town called Pine Plains or Ancramdale or Ancram. It depends where you look at.
Doji, did you say?
Huh?
Oh, what, there's no
Goat.
Goat cheese.
Goat
Got it.
cheese. So they actually, this is a visionary who came up with the and walked away. Whenever they sold the company, I think they got less than $100 million for the company. This is in like 1982 or 3. And they created, they imported goats, and they imported French people to make the goat cheese, and Coach goat cheese is everywhere. But the one thing they didn't have was enough hay, so for the goats. So it happened that my first place that I bought was 105 acres, like you could see the Coach place from my place, and I didn't want to pay to cut my hay.
So just bring over the goats.
So the Coach goat cheese is courtesy of my old hay.
Wow.
And it was, I didn't charge them any money.
You should make them get you a room at the Hay Adams Hotel.
I've been there many times.
Here, look at this.
Edge?
Yeah, it's like its own emoji.
Well, Edge is the thing that people sadly jump off
up.
of. Yeah.
Right. So see, like Let's Dance, I've never heard of that.
Kate Spade, you've heard of. That's Kate Spade.
Oh yeah, that's Kate Spade.
And Stuart Weitzman.
Didn't she hang herself from a scarf?
Kate Spade? Really?
Didn't she, like within a week of Anthony Bourdain, didn't she?
Did she kill herself?
Or drown in the bathtub or something?
I don't know about that.
Weird happened, didn't it?
Could that be fake news?
I'm not saying that happened. I'm remembering something.
Louis Vuitton.
I've heard of that.
You have,
obviously.
You had like a standard account there, right? You were buying handbags,
I've never had any
purse,
Louis Vuitton, anything.
luggage.
Nah.
The stuff, decades ago it was really high quality leather, and now they've switched. Well, let's look in the window. Some of their stuff is plastic. Who would pay big money for a plastic wallet?
I think everybody down on Canal Street.
Yeah, exactly. And you
can
get it. And again, this is old lady clothing, right?
I just don't understand who has the money to buy this stuff.
I'll tell you who, Melinda Gates, but she likes to wear burlap bags. I mean, she's not exactly a style maven. This is how we came in.
Let's go out this way here.
Which way?
I didn't realize there's an upstairs there.
Oh, you mean go upstairs? Or?
Well, let's look at
Let's just go.
Yeah. Let's just get out of here, yeah. Oh, look at this little vehicle.
What's this?
I guess it's a coffee shop or something.
Oh, I
glasses.
see. Elasteva. Now these watches, these are
Patek Philippe, very
super expensive. Patek Philippe.
Well,
I forget which I got for Clarissa. I got her either Patek Philippe or Piaget, one or the other.
So
that was interesting,
It's a departure from the
norm. I view it as a victory. We didn't have to buy anything.
Yeah. And then the restaurant section is over there. They are some very, very good restaurants over there. But I mean, again, even regular restaurants that I told you, I went with the old Steadicam operator to like a neighborhood Thai place and didn't even order any drinks, and it was $47 a person. I was like, this is nuts.
Yeah. Well, it gets to a level. I mean, food itself is expensive in a supermarket, but for me, late in life, I don't have that much to do, and I kind of enjoy cooking for myself. I like experimenting. It's like immediate gratification or dissatisfying or whatever. And
something's on fire.
And you save money.
Do you smell that?
And you don't have to worry about somebody who might be, peeing on your food.
Spitting in it.
Right. This sauce is a little pungent.
Back on the billionaire destruction point, Elon Musk doesn't seem too bothered.
Yeah, I think the vulnerability for him, as I say, is how they structured this acquisition. What guarantees did he have to make about his involvement? What do the legal documents say about what the investors were shown or not shown? There's a lot. It would seem that possibly there was an error in the way the documents were drafted, and that's why he went ahead and bought it.
Really?
Yeah, as a guess. Because, if it had been me...
Wouldn't you just blame the lawyer who made the error?
Again, it could have been a very significant error, which you can only figure out by reading all the documents. And now one of the clues is that he did no due diligence. Now, Bezos was featured in an interview. Is this the downtown or the...
Huh?
Are we going downtown?
Yeah.
Okay. So this fellow, David Rubenstein, who's very successful and shrewd investor, but sadly a big backer of Biden. In fact, when Biden goes to Nantucket, he stays at his house. he has a second gig interviewing famous people, and he interviewed Bezos in the plug that comes for his show. They have clips of what he did before, and one of them is that Bezos was saying he did no due diligence when he bought the Washington Post. He just asked for a number. And that is really fucking stupid.
Well, because he's buying a CIA asset, and that's the same thing that Musk was doing.
Yeah, maybe you're told that
you're buying this.
Right.
That's what I mean. That's the only thing that makes sense. And that also goes to the Khashoggi yacht, the 727s. Right. There's something in these things where now you are holding the hot potato.
Right. And when we go back now, again, I'm not somebody who believes the end justifies the means. I really just don't believe that. And you'll never convince me, frankly, so long as I'm got my marbles, that makes any sense. We have to go back now and look at the abject failures. You know, we are not in a good place in 2022, now 2023. The world is imploding. The United States has way too much debt. We have a structural, this is something we talked about when we first got together in June of 2017, right around here somewhere. There's the annual deficit of state, federal, and city governments combined in this country is so massive that you can't support it, and it's structurally high because we've decided that we're going to let connected insiders get the profits, and losses are socialized by we the people. That is just a system that doesn't make any
guaranteed
sense.
Failure.
Right, and we have, we go around saying we're capitalists. Nobody seems to have any capital.
Right.
I mean, a few people have financial capital, but most everybody else doesn't. You're not capitalist if everybody's in debt and has a negative net worth.
Debitalists.
That's crazy. You're crapitalists.
Yes, that's right. That is. Yeah, the fundamentals are just completely terrible.
And it's also crazy, when you look at the what government's become. When you interact with the medical system, as I have been doing, not personally, but for a friend, you see how fucked up it is here in New York, and expensive it is.
And this is supposed to be one of the best.
Right, and then when you interact with the educational system, I mean, I got a solicitation that was hardly warm and fuzzy from Grace Church School in my email, saying the deadline for sending your money in is 11:59. Make sure you meet the deadline. And there was at the bottom of it said you could hit this link to unsubscribe. And I thought for a second,
do that.
Maybe no, because I think it'd be fun to talk about this and see how these stupid
crazy
emails that I'm getting from this place. And if I unsubscribe, I won't get the stupid emails. It's not going to change my decision. They lost me a long time ago when I wanted to give them a small gift to promote excellence among the teaching faculty, and the headmaster said, "Well, we don't believe in excellence."
Wow, he said that?
Yeah, that would offend people who aren't excellent.
Oh my God.
I'm like, oh, really? Thank you. I guess I'll leave now. Never
That's
call
absurd.
me again. Hey, there's scores. Right there.
You want to end the show, Charles? We could.
I hate those.
I don't have
places.
any small bills, but
I hate those.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I've
outgrown the strip club long ago.
Where we live, they're really bad.
I told you that. Maybe we'll retell the story. That there was a client who insisted on going to the strip club, and so we all went, and a bunch of us, and early though, like 6 o'clock or 7, whatever, which is way too early to go to those places. And so they would send girl after girl, over to our table. Oh, please, you want a table dance with us? Like, get out of here, leave us alone. And then finally, this one girl came who was so beautiful, really very, very beautiful, with this beautiful hair. Like it was fake hair, but beautiful blonde, light, platinum blonde hair, and ready to drop all clothes and whatever. And so this one guy said, "Okay, fine, you're great." And they turn the music up, and she starts her gyration. She flips her hair back into the candle, and her hair goes whoosh.
A lot of product.
We throw her on the ground and cover her.
Yikes.
And I don't know if you've ever had...
Dude, you set the stripper on fire.
But the smell of burnt hair...
not good.
Let's just go over here. Let's stop it.
Burning stripper is a bad...
Those guys were just...
I think you get kicked out for that.
This is the guys who were going down the steps there were like drafting on us. That's a nice view. I'm not being... that's not a note But it is the sun on the back
It
buildings.
was a beautiful day. It's,
In the
I mean,
neighborhood.
despite the crazy things going on, it's not too cold and the sun is out, and glad to be walking around. Hopefully we can recover this disaster that's going on.
Right.
But I mean, it is interesting, the parallels between what was done to Donald Trump, how he was, #1 show, and he was in rap songs, and everybody thought he was cool. They wanted to be his apprentice. Then he says, well, I'm going to become president and drain the swamp. And they were like, oh, everybody hates that guy.
I don't think so. Yeah.
And the same thing is happening to Musk.
They're trying to do it to Musk, but Musk has gumption, and he's quick. I wonder how he gets all the stuff done that he's doing.
Yeah,
I mean, he must.
a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Well,
And not to mention his 12 or 13 kids. I mean, how does he take care of that?
He is an extremely high productivity individual. And there are people like that. I've been accused of that. I'm not saying I'm on par with him. But definitely when you have people work for you like that. I've told you this story that one time one of my employees came into my office and said, oh, Jay, you have to tell the client that we need more time. And I said, what the fuck are you talking about? Get out there and sit down and finish the job. We're not telling anybody anything like that. And guess what? He got it done.
That's
So
standard.
this is not Serbia. But, and then, I mean, there are just people who are busy sitting around saying, well, I deserve $30 an hour for serving people coffee. And then there are other people who say, hey, I'm in charge of sweeping this park or whatever, so it's going to be the cleanest park anybody has ever seen. And it's two different approaches to life.
And the person who wants $30 at McDonald's, meet the automated machine. that
Right,
just
meet the robot, right.
Which will replace you, has replaced you.
They deserve that, I think.
I know.
Yeah,
Well,
actually,
it's-
the employees who deserve high pay is Waffle House, because you need a really good right hook to be
I
working
didn't
there.
see the video, but you tell me.
There's this tough little girl who's just like, not little girl, but like a short woman who looks pretty young, and all these people start throwing chairs at her and stuff, and she just becomes Mike Tyson. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, I drove to Florida with my kids in 2006, and there and back, and then kind of a fun summer tour. We spent a fair amount of time in motels and beaches and whatever, and we started noticing the Waffle Houses, and then the kids saw a Huddle House, and they would say, we have got to huddle up to the Huddle House. So we would stop in the Huddle House parking lot, and it was like, those cartoons, the opera divas. One diva bigger and fatter than the next, one customer bigger and fatter than the next.
Wow.
And you go in there and they give you a menu that's the size of like a sail, a plastic sail. It's got like 150 different variations.
But is a huddle some type of food that I'm not aware of?
No, I don't know why maybe it's Mr. Huddle's house, or I don't know.
Just huddle in
or
there.
huddling or whatever. But they had this, 1 egg and hash browns, 1 egg, hash brown, bacon, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 eggs, and all that stuff.
How many eggs can you eat?
And then like the most expensive thing, they actually said, all the above and a certain amount of them.
Bacon.
Lard.
Yeah, oh God.
Lard.
Oh, what are
Who
you going to
orders
eat, the
up
lard?
I'd like some lard for breakfast.
Oh my God, I'd be sick immediately.
But I mean, it was just, and then they give you everything, of course, is oversized. The plates are oversized, the cups are oversized.
That's crazy. You know what? See,
it's
everyone's
just
like, oh, I
horrible.
want free health care.
It's
All
horrible
right.
for you.
Yeah, and then that's the thing. If you're going to get this free health care, that means I have to pay for it. That means I should have some say you're not allowed to eat lard at the Waffle House.
Look at this. So we're already at 23rd Street. What do you want to, how are we on time?
Well, we've been broadcasting for an hour and 15 minutes, but I wonder, why don't we see if anybody has any comments or questions, and we can sort
if
of...
you're up to it, we could go down to 14th and
Sure.
then over to 7th and park.
Let's
there.
just see what our comments are saying here. Elon has leverage. So Brian says bombing of Engels Air Base in Russia.
Yeah, we shouldn't be encouraging the bombing of air bases inside Russia. That's really stupid. What we should be doing, if we're going to declare war on anything, why don't we declare war on the Mexican cartels?
Yeah,
You know?
right.
And anyone who's financing them. And if that's China, okay, that's tough.
People are confirming that Kate Spade did hang herself
Really?
with a
That's
red
sad.
scarf. And I remember it was pretty close time proximity to Anthony Bourdain, who I liked that show.
Yeah, and wasn't he somebody who had dirt on Clinton?
Well, he was friends with Obama, and there's a guy who made a whole video. I forget the guy's name and I forget the video name, but it showed Obama. Obama appeared on some episode of, what was that Bourdain show called?
I don't know. I like those cooking shows.
Parts Unknown.
I don't know.
And so it was Obama and Anthony Bourdain having some kind of, I think, Vietnamese restaurant in a tiny little crap hole place, and there's a picture over the table, which the person making this video looked up that picture, and it just led down a whole rabbit hole of stuff that I probably will get kicked off of YouTube for even talking about, but it is very strange.
Right. Yeah, there are allegations that Bourdain's death was suspicious.
I think it was.
Incredible allegations.
And also, he was dating or married to Daria Argento, who, her father is a famous Italian horror movie director. I think his name is Sergio Argento. I've only seen one of his films. He made a 3D Dracula film with Rutger Hauer that was at the Cannes Marché du Film the same year that Julia X was. His film was terrible. Sorry.
Do you get an award? That would be pretty funny. We're gonna give awards at this show for the best and the worst.
You know, I got sued the last time we tried to do that.
No, I'm just saying, if you had a real, if the Oscars had a sense of humor, you'd...
Think about that, though, Charles. The Emmys, the Oscars, anything like that, it's all about picking winners and losers, and it's not the audience choosing. It's not which made the most money. It's just some arbitrary decision about who is the best.
Well, and think about when we got on this project and they were still making movies. We joked in the beginning. I mean, I think I asked you, what are we going to do, when we run out of movies?
Yeah.
And you were like,
That's never going to happen. Well, Charles, Tesla's not going to go down.
but I have stopped. I used to make a pretense on Saturdays. I'd go over to the Strand and Barnes & Noble and try to see if there's a new book that came out that I might want to buy.
Right.
And then, depending on the result, I'd either go to a movie or not go to a movie. I.e., if I buy a book,
it's
I
totally
go to a
uninteresting now. The
and
movies.
I don't even waste the time looking in the theater.
Yeah.
It's like nothing. It's all bullshit movies.
You don't
and
watch
cartoons.
Blue People for 3 hours?
No.
I'm surprised.
All these cartoons and stupid docudramas glorifying some idiot. I don't. I'd rather watch Curb Your Enthusiasm again and again and again.
Well, I mean, that's just it. And I saw this writing on the wall even when I was in Hollywood. I just felt that, there was so many different emerging mediums for consuming motion picture entertainment, the phone, the pad, the streaming at home, and all that. It just seemed to me that physically transporting your body to a location to watch motion picture entertainment at a time dictated by the venue for a lot of money with a bunch of other frequently objectionable people around, it just didn't make sense to me. And the sort of like the old guard of Hollywood would be like, oh no, it's a shared social experience. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? You're sitting in the dark looking at a movie.
Yeah, no, I agree. And my middle brother used to like to go to movie theaters, and there's some in the city here that are a little bit more expensive, that you get a nice seat. And he had paid extra for the nice seat or whatever, and he's getting ready to watch the movie when some guy who may have been homeless or not sits like 2 seats away from him.
Yeah.
And brings in a number of stinking hamburger, cheeseburger things, proceeds to eat them, at decibel level 150 or something. Amazing. Munching, chomping, burping.
Then the flatulence begins.
And the flatulence. And then he falls asleep and he spends the entire movie snoring.
It's good value.
And I'm not saying it happens like that every time, but
that's what I mean. It's like, why would you want to do that? Because also you can. I went to Best Buy the other day to recycle some batteries. Oh yeah, that is really cute.
Good luck.
Best Buy to recycle some batteries.
Right.
75-inch TV, $899.
How many did you steal?
I mean, I couldn't fit it in my pants, but I'm saying I don't even understand how you could mail that from China to Best Buy for $899 without breaking it.
Well, and isn't the food chain of that the Best Buy will pay typically half of the sales price is their cost, and then
I have no idea.
The manufacturer's cost is I don't know what. How do they get it to cost so little?
I think that probably the cost is offset by licensing, like YouTube is paying them money to have YouTube on the TV and Hulu and whatever kind of thing you can sign up and stream. Maybe they're getting some of that money, but I don't understand it. There's a huge TV in that person's apartment.
Right, and why would you want
everybody to see what you're watching?
Alternatively, a stream of people, underneath you, looking up and watching you watch TV.
How do you get blinds for those crazy windows?
No, it's not for me. But it probably won all kinds of awards,
That's the Lantern House.
They probably did, they did the one on the right first, and then they said, now we have an idea to do an adjacent building, but you're going to have to pay us a standard 15% or whatever the fee is, architecture fee. And then they had the meeting, and they put the design as that. It's like, isn't that that? No, it's not. It's to the east of that. It's slightly different.
They've got two of these coming up here.
Wow. Let's just wait here for a second. We're on our toes.
Yeah.
But this is very windy, and these are apartments for people who are not going to live in the city year round.
Just park
same
your
kind
money.
of people who would buy a very fancy apartment in Miami or Hong Kong or wherever.
Yeah.
And there are people like that who just collect. I have an acquaintance who, when I met him the first time, he said, he asked, what do people do? And he said, well, I collect penthouses.
That's a good hobby.
Another guy I ran into collected castles. Quite a few, almost 30.
Just getting back to Trump for a second, Charles, they haven't really said too much about this whole Mar-a-Lago deal, but it is interesting to note that this Max Mushkin, who is now representing Mr. Boozy in Goodman v. Boozy, he's involved with the Mar-a-Lago stuff. There was a Washington Post article that mentioned him. So it's interesting that the same people that are all over Trump are now all over me. I guess I'm moving up the Donkey Kong ladder.
Yeah, time for you to marry somebody from Slovenia.
I'm not marrying any more foreign women.
All right, yeah, I've done that. All right.
It just creates problems. I'm not saying like I'm done with it. It creates actual problems.
Hey, wasn't that a set of buildings next to Artichoke Pizza, and now it's
Let's look.
gone?
What is the flashing light?
And what is that flashing light? Yeah.
That's weird. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Probably going to build another fancy building.
I can't zoom easily with these gloves.
What?
It's difficult to zoom in with the gloves on, but I don't know. That's some kind of camera or something.
We can go to the right.
But yeah, so they basically killed the special master. Like, what's going on with everything with Trump? We haven't heard anything about it.
It's well, more to the point, what's going on? What really happened on January 6th?
Right.
And
I know, but if we say it, we'll get kicked off.
Well, but the point being that is a clear case of stipulated reality. And people are now coming out and saying that there were many FBI agents and contractors in the crowd.
It was all the
there.
Twitter employees. They were just there.
Yeah, exactly. And there was somebody on one of the shows, I forget if it's Tucker or Laura Ingraham or whatever, somebody from the inside of the FBI, now retired, who said there was no danger there. And there's some, you might know the name of it, I think it's Brandenburg versus Ohio or Ohio versus Brandenburg, which is a Supreme Court decision that explains the standard that you have to meet to argue that the speech is insurrection. And it's no
Well,
way.
even incitement to violence is difficult to reach.
Right, that's that case. I was reading about it this morning.
Right.
And it goes through the elements that are required.
It's got to be
examples.
imminent.
Right, and in no way did it meet that test.
But he says be peaceful and go walk over there.
Right, and he asked for the National Guard to be there, and Pelosi turned him down.
Right, I mean, the type of stuff is like, go over there and punch that person in the head, and then they do it.
Right.
You just incited that person.
Right.
You're the capo or whatever.
Well, I'd say Maxine Waters comes a lot closer.
Absolutely. She said,
you get up in their
push
face,
back.
Yeah.
Tell them they're not welcome.
Which?
And then how many people did that then happen to who got beat up for wearing a Trump hat or whatever?
Yeah, look at the sunlight there. What
Golden hour.
Kind of nice, right?
Absolutely. It's a beautiful day on Diddle Island, Charles.
And here.
There's a lot less stuff in here. Normally there's like a food court, and I mean, particularly around Christmas time, I would think they just have this. Hyundai is making a huge push with the Genesis. Oh, this is electric. GV70 electrified.
Right.
That probably means hybrid, actually.
Nobody's asking, like, where's the electricity going to come from?
Well, there are people asking that. The CEO of Ford and the CEO of Toyota said that this is kind of maybe not the best idea, that there's a silent majority of car manufacturers who don't think that the electric future is as ready as they want it to be.
How do we exit this?
We got some stairs over here coming up. We're gonna go down by the Tesla area.
Oh, right. Yeah, this is pretty soon it'll be moonlight over Manhattan.
You and I were talking about, I guess it was Marvin Davis the other day, and Barry Diller came into it because this is another thing that I noticed as a young kid, and I was like, what the hell is that all about? Paramount Pictures at one point used to say it's a Gulf and Western
It was
company.
a Gulf and Western company, yeah.
And it seemed weird to me. Here, hang on a second. Let's just let these loud people who are right behind us walk past.
Right.
You remember the other day I was talking about Yentas? That's them.
And what's Schnurra? What's the
That's
other
something else. That's stupid Mario on the couch.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gulf and Western.
Charlie Bluedorn, who put that together, was,
But it was interesting
was a
that
disaster.
Marvin Davis had a 727. That was years ago, so it was more normal. It was a common aircraft type at that time, but that he brought in Barry Diller to run Paramount Pictures.
Go down here?
Yeah.
But Barry Diller at the time was, a renowned
I understand.
CEO.
But that's how he gets into all this
brought
stuff.
him from Paramount Pictures to run Gulf and Western.
Well, whatever it was, he was involved.
to run 20th Century. Marvin had nothing to do with Paramount. It was 20th Century Fox.
Right, but Barry Diller was at Paramount
And he
Pictures.
recruited him away, I think.
Well,
Those were the...
He's also totally hooked up with the Clintons, IAC,
Oh, sure. Chelsea
Vimeo,
Clinton, yeah.
Chelsea Clinton, that little Diddle Island over there.
Not so little. The not so little Diddle Island. Is that your Merc over there?
My what? Oh, the G-Wagon?
Yeah.
It's interesting that you noticed that because I was about to mention it, but then I was like, I'm not going to say anything. Mercedes just came out with a lifted off-road version of that I wish we would see it, because you would say, how much is that thing? And I would say, $350,000.
Wow. This thing here?
G63 with the lift. No, this one's probably just like 200 and something, and they like the Grateful Dead. That's the number one way to not get pulled over by the cops.
To do what?
Definitely no weed in the car.
But look, this whole building's for sale.
Oh,
And
well,
I think,
great.
I think Thor Equities was
This
the
is
person...
going to go really nicely with your Cartier tank.
This is, I think, the firm that sat down with me a number of years ago and said, we really need you to invest in New York City real estate. I said, "Hey, what's the cap rate? Oh, we don't have cap rates. It's negative.
What is a cap rate?
The capitalization ratio. So you take, you look at the price, and then you divide the cash flow, price by the cash flow, and when the cash
How
flow
could
by
they
the
not
price.
have a cap rate?
Because you don't understand, Jason. We only invest in gems, and gems. You should be content to lose money on a gem, because gems don't go for sale. And it's like, get the fuck out of here, and I'm definitely not paying for the drinks.
here's a Breitling place.
Those are expensive lunches.
Yep. And you got Tesla right down there. Now we're speaking about
Tesla if you want.
We're speaking about Barry Diller, and this is Diane
his,
von Furstenberg.
His wife, right?
Right. So all these people are, controlling all of this stuff.
Now,
And I guess Elon Musk is right here in the mix.
This is all over the city. Have you seen it in the same handwriting? Dream until it's your reality. Same handwriting, not necessarily the same color, but I've seen it all over the place.
Andrew Weissman has one that says, stipulate until it's your reality.
Now, this clothing, I have to say, I'm no expert on clothing, but at least it doesn't, that particular dress doesn't look like an old lady dress.
She's also like 17.
Or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Diane von Furstenberg. I'm not really a Barry Diller.
Diane Bavon.
Now, do you remember how frequently we used to see F-150 Raptors, which that is not? I have not seen one in a long time. I think a lot of people are just leaving the 11 mile per gallon vehicle in the garage.
Probably. Now, what's going on here? Tesla
Well, they said that it's...
retail sublease available?
No. That's the next door thing. Tesla's this one.
And that's that, that's that hotel?
Standard.
Start with a demo drive today. Boy, this is a big guy coming at us.
So, see, one of the things that they've been doing is...
There's no Tesla big enough for that dude.
Yeah. No, I think it actually has a lot of room in it. But one of the things that's been happening, and you've been telling me about this in the car channels I watch are talking about this, that from a variety of different factors, there's a lot of shifts happening in the used car market,
Right.
and I'm getting emails every day from this Ford and that Ford. They want to, give me a loan and give me a lease and buy my car, and they're just like, don't leave me alone with all this. But now they're reporting that no more wait list for Teslas, and the used market for Teslas, the value is going down. But they're making it like this is all because of Elon Musk's deal with Twitter, but it's actually just the changes in the car market.
Yeah, exactly. We just passed a store called Rag & Bone. It's the second one I've seen today. I don't know about you, Jason. I'm not a huge fan of either rags or bones.
I like my bones.
Oh, okay, yeah, but you wouldn't eat them.
No.
This is a fancy place. What is this? P.F. Collier and Son.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
The price tag to get for a woman to get your hair colored in this place?
Bumble.
Take a guess.
I think you've told me it's a crazy number.
Like 500?
That's absurd.
Well, not...
It's a very loud garbage truck, Charles.
I did this on purpose, Jason.
How do those guys not go deaf?
I'd rather listen to that than Biden.
That is super loud.
That is definitely loud.
Well, all of these rooftop places, they generally have pretty exciting New Year's Eve parties going on. The Gansevoort Hotel. I enjoy that place.
Never been inside it.
Oh, really? They have a great rooftop, bar and everything, and I'm pretty sure there's a pool up there.
You can go over to 14th if you want.
Sure.
Well, however you want to do it.
Here's a pretty crazy
Fine.
coffee or ice cream
This way,
or...
Jason.
Oh, yeah, sorry. And so SBF, what's going to happen? He's just going to disappear into obscurity?
I mean, sadly, I think his life will be, as they say in crazy movies, attenuated.
Yeah, well...
It cut short. And I don't think they're ever going to go after the parents the way they should. The fact that they let the family all fly off together.
Writing is already on the wall.
It's obvious that some people will be punished, but the real malefactors will not be identified, and the real scam will not be fully told the way it needs to be told, sadly.
How do we get in front of this, Charles? I mean, it's like the honest people are getting screwed in court. Criminals are getting away with it. The FBI is in charge of doing the screwing. What the hell are we going to do?
2 years of hell.
You reminded me. So I was watching Bob Bishop's YouTube channel.
Yeah, Bob's a great guy.
And he and George are doing, the intensity level of what they're doing is ratcheting up significantly. Well, I don't know if good is the right word. It's good work that they're doing, but it's extremely troubling. And then I also noticed that the Ginger Frankenstein, that asshole Patrick Byrne, he's back on Twitter, and he published a video, no way to verify, of course, but it was a Spanish-speaking guy, maybe in his 20s, saying how he's a gangbanger and that, the United States, he's saying, remember back in the day when we used to wait in line at supermarkets? That's what the United States immigration centers are like right now. But 2 years from now, the United States is going to fall because,
Is Byrne saying this?
Not Byrne saying it. He posted a video of this 20-year-old Venezuelan guy saying that he's a gangbanger and he's just going to like roll up on people and knock them out.
Well, that's not good.
Well, it's obvious that that's what's going to happen. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You can't be so stupid. It's like if you left the front door to your house or apartment open every day and you know there's a lot of criminals in your neighborhood.
Yeah, you put a bill stack out.
How are you not going to get killed by somebody coming in there and killing you? Look, here's a bunch of cops window shopping instead of actually working. Stupid assholes.
More garbage. Yeah, actually, one thing I'd like to touch on is this Ukraine timeline that you and I have been going back over.
Yeah.
Now, most people forget that in 2014, the United States basically and allies installed a government.
Right.
Over the express wishes of the Ukrainian people and in defiance of Russia. And Biden was vice president then.
And the point man on Ukraine.
And there had been this collaboration effort between the FBI and the National
National
Shamu.
Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine.
Shamu. And that, I think, was one of the templates for what they're doing. Maybe they did it before that, but what they're certainly doing now. You have a government entity which officially is, quote, fighting corruption, when in fact what it's doing is it's fighting the people who are trying to expose the corruption within that agency. That's right. Something that was certainly happening by 2014. There was a predecessor entity you found that was allegedly not doing the job correctly, and Timoshenko, the former head of the country, was put in jail allegedly for corruption. Because
that probably means they found a thing that was actually fighting corruption, so they said shut this down and put everybody in jail and start the FBI version.
Right. So since we're now spending all this money on Ukraine, we ought to get something for it. And that specifically, we ought to understand what was the nature of Ukraine cooperation through Mr. Pinchuk, a big Clinton Foundation donor, with the Clintons and the Obama administration. What was Ukraine's involvement, hoping that Trump would lose in 2016? Let's get into all those files, and let's get into the Slack files on Twitter on that, because I think we really, to this day, it's very difficult to explain why the United States is suddenly making Ukraine the #1 recipient of foreign aid.
Correct.
I mean, is it truly?
Nobody ever heard of it before 5 years ago.
Well, unless you like Chicken Kiev.
Or unless you like the game Risk. Seriously, almost nobody could point it out on a map. And you know what? When Tatiana used to tell people she's from Ukraine, they would say, the UK? Ukraine. Are you stupid?
Exactly. He sounds like she's got a pretty funny sense of humor.
Good sense of humor, yes.
It's like when I checked in at British Airways London to fly to Boise, Idaho, and they said, "Where's your visa?" What?
To Boise, yeah.
I said, "You need a visa to go to Canada." I said, "I'm not going to Canada. I'm going to Boise." "Well, it's in Canada." "No, it's not."
Wow.
So,
they let you near a plane, huh? Not you, I'm saying the person telling you that.
Yeah, this was some British Airways employee.
Oh, boy.
Amazing. And it was a long discussion. She wasn't going to let me get on the plane. And I'm telling you, it's in America. "No, it's not. It's in Canada." "No, it's not."
They were arguing back and forth that. Wow. Well, back onto this social media shenanigans. I continue to post stuff on Truth Social as CS The Truth. And it's amazing that Stephen Biss, the lawyer for the CEO of that company, is up over 4,000 followers, and I'm still at like 128. It just doesn't seem realistic at all.
Do you want to go on the diagonal over to 7th, and then we might see? Let's cross the street and do it, but then we'll see a whole bunch more stores now, I think, and that'll get you.
It's really getting dark early now.
Yeah, exactly, and late in the morning. It's dark. It only lightens up around 7.
But I guess we're already past the longest day of the year, so it's almost summer, Charles.
Exactly. Feels like it.
Yeah.
I have to say, today I have walked a long distance. I'm not going to say where I started, but I walked from the East River to meet you.
Maine.
Yeah.
It was a hell of a
Give
walk.
myself brownie points. Pretty amazing how I transported us both into that Bangkok shopping mall.
Wonderful.
You didn't even get any jet lag either going or coming.
Do you remember when that gas station was Lukoil?
I do. I remember before that when it was Sinclair.
Oh, I do remember that with the dinosaur.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. It's like when they have a barbecue restaurant with a pig outside.
Oh, yeah,
it's like, making me hungry.
Yeah, not too many of those in United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia. Now you see this neon sign here. This used to be Bruxelles. It's a great steakhouse.
That over there?
Yeah, dead ahead of us, red and black. And it's gone through several migrations since then. We'll see what it's called now. But it had, those Belgian French fries.
Oh yeah.
Really good, and
in a newspaper with
that
vinegar?
kind of stuff, mayonnaise and stuff.
Yeah, that's good.
Now this section of the West Village is sort of on the edge.
Of what?
I mean, well, because before they redeveloped the meat market area, the meat market was derelict. It was very dangerous in the 70s.
Meat packing, yeah. It was all prostitutes. It was,
transvestite.
You did not go there.
Crazy. And there we have, the garbage is for your project of turning garbage. What are we going to turn garbage into?
Batteries.
There you go. Look at all that raw material. Free.
I don't have any scientific hypothesis of how we would do it. It's just...
Jack and Charlie... Oh, you want $1 billion from the Department of Energy?
Yeah, why not?
Oh, okay.
What happened to the bald guy who was stealing luggage?
He's gone.
Well, he missed his
court date?
His jackpot, because all that luggage was stranded at the airport when they canceled flights. He could have just had his pick.
He's probably there.
Oh, this is a good place for fish and chips, assault and battery.
It gets regularly. The owner of that gets regularly featured anytime there's a British royal thing on TV.
And it's a funny name.
Tea and Sympathy as well. Right here, you see this. This is called Tea and Sympathy.
I haven't been in there.
Actually, look at all this stuff. These piles of garbage, derelict signs.
Post no bills.
And as you start going that way, i.e. southwest, you get into, there's a project that's been reimagined, but there's a lot of very expensive real estate in here. And in the day, prior to 2007, this was teem with activity.
Yeah.
Right? Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
I mean, there's restaurants are humming.
I think prior to 2019.
Right.
Well.
And how long it will take, if ever, for this to return is a big question.
When you say this, I'm thinking about the whole country.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Land of the free and the home of the brave. You think, now we should maybe do a Twitter poll. Is Hunter with Joe in St. Croix?
I don't know. How would we know?
And just the expense of going, this is the absolute
probably who's paying the bill.
Right. Hunter is there. That's why he's got to pay the bill. So the expense, I'll walk with you to 7th that way and save you a little bit of a walk. But this is the most expensive week to go on vacation in a Caribbean resort, right? Between Christmas and New Year's.
That's crazy.
Right, and he's obviously not paying for it, but the number of people who are down there, the inconvenience to those people and their families. Say what you want about George W. Bush, and I'm not a fan, but one of the things they do say about him when he was president is he went out of his way not to go on vacation on Thanksgiving, on Christmas, and
to stuff. Not disrupt other people.
Well, right, to be reverent and appreciative of the many people who work. I think the number of people in the staff just in the White House, forget about Camp David, is a large number.
Yeah.
Butlers, maids, this and that.
You could hire him for the New York traffic police. Pay him $42,000.
There we have that's a nice mound of garbage for your project, Jason.
Well, the guy who is the king of garbage seems gone.
He's up the street. He is
there?
He was in Mar-a-Lago for a few days.
Oh, okay.
There's some more garbage here.
Wow.
And yeah. This is
Well, Charles, it's been a good wintry, sort of pre-New Year's. This is a little bit of a kind of a what the hell's going on? There's not too much going on this week, but
next week will change.
Next week will change, and definitely there's going to be a lot of excitement. I gotta get this article I gotta go to Congress again, I think. I mean, the last time I was there, remember, it was with a stupid document that Okie Marshall Richards told me to make. I think I gotta just go there and hand this Twitter coup document to Jim Jordan, and Chuck Grassley was the one who was yelling at Valerie Caproni for violating everybody's, all these constitutional things. But I can't find any records of Mueller ever, punishing anybody, and that's what Chuck Grassley and John Conyers said needed to happen.
So, I think you get some sort of an indication from the real leaders to say you're not going over there, and so you yell, you scream, and you wait for people to forget about why they were concerned about it, and some new crisis comes along. And
that's the game, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, this has been, I guess this will be the last broadcast of
the
2022.
year.
Yeah. So
Absolutely. Well, I'll see everybody before then, and then next time we see Charles will be Sunday.
It'll either maybe Sunday or maybe Saturday. We'll see.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to become a sponsor on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth or odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth. Thanks to everybody who's sponsoring the show. Have a great night and be careful and safe. It's getting cold and